Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out a quirky little first-person shooter named Epic Random, and boy does it feel odd for me to be saying that intro again after all this time. For those of you who aren't aware, Indie Impressions is my long-running series, was my long-running series that was 1,000 consecutive days of me playing an indie game and critiquing it and finding stuff that looked kind of interesting to talk about and kind of dwelling on those moments. Took a bit of a hiatus because I got quite burned out to it. I was doing this every day for such a long time, and the setup and the recording constraints and such around it, well, became a bit of a burden. So I took about 3 months off, and I'm not saying that I'm necessarily back, but I did promise that I would be doing some of these in October, so at the very least I wanted to cover a few games, and I started looking through some of my usual lists, my curated content lists of places that usually post cool-looking indie games, and well, this one jumped out at me, and I thought it'd be worth at least a quick look into. I don't think this is going to be a particularly long one, but that is kind of the bite-sized nature of Indie Impressions. The videos are usually between 10 and 30 minutes long at the longest, although there have been a few exceptions in the past. So why don't we jump right into it, do a little bit of walking around, doing a little bit of talking around, and, well, you know how it goes. Alright, so we wake up in some sort of outworld space station full of first-person shooting action, and as you can see, we seem to have a portal to the nothingness behind us, the nether, that we obviously will not be going in the direction of. So let's go instead into this world of white wizardry. Oh, that sounded weird. Where we get a little laser pistol, and the world will slowly change. So what we've got going on is, obviously, pretty standard first-person setup. We've got a life bar on the bottom, we got a gun, we've got a bar on the top, which is a little bit odd and different, and what this does is actually, it's sort of like our entropy chaos bar. As we kill more things, that will actually fill up, and eventually will culminate in sort of like a wall of flesh style, from Terraria, of course, boss fight. Now, each one of these question mark blocks that we pick up is some sort of random power-up, and I don't know what it's going to do. It might change our gun, it might change our stats, it might change something about the world, I guess. I don't entirely know how that's going to work out, but we've just gotten, like, the Duke Nukem style, what is it, the Devastator, if I remember the name correctly. Now, I did do a quick run of this just to see what kind of game this was scope-wise, and I feel like this is a game that's got a lot of potential. I think this is a really neat idea. I've seen a few different styles of execution in a similar fashion. Things like Paranautical Activity, of course, with randomized level design, or, was it Rogue Shooter, I think it was? Roguelike FPS game? The one that had sort of sprite-based everything and then randomly generated levels. Now, spacing on the name of it. But this one, I think the cool thing about it is it takes a bit of a different approach. Instead of trying to be so serious about it or trying to have... well, not that either of those two that I named were particularly the most serious, but it actually goes in sort of a chaotic realm, where as we get further into the situation, the more things we kill, the more crazy the levels get, or the more crazy the textures and color areas get. We'll eventually descend into a world of wild patterns and rainbows everywhere, and there's even going to be some saw blades that might pop up on the floor. There are usually more guns in my last run that I saw pop up, and there's one in particular that I think would be fantastic if I could run into it again, because I felt like it had a bit of an advantage over the others. Now, I think this also might even do something for the music design, which is kind of neat. Yeah, see this one right here. This is like way overpowered compared to some of the others. You can see it actually produces a bit of an electrical spark in every direction as we kind of shoot past stuff. So this has a big advantage when it comes to the boss. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm actively going to forego picking up more of those power-ups because I'd actually really love to keep this weapon. And even though it means I won't be getting any more HP back, which those can also drop, I'm going to just roll with it. So what I'd love to see if this was to go further in development, because this is not necessarily complete, and I'm not sure if it will necessarily be complete, but to make it so it's not just straight up like a descent forever would be cool. I mean, it's actually kind of neat to go in the other direction until you realize, well, actually everything's been disintegrating behind you, and really all you can do is keep going down. But if occasionally it would stop from the mild descent, and then there'd be a little bit of like a, you know, a room area would be neat. Oh, we've got a timer happening now. Or maybe even go in the other direction, make a turn, make things go back up the other way. Like, I'm fine with it being a one-way linear corridor path, but have there be a little bit more diversity, I suppose, than that. And then take the premise even to a further extent, and have there be just wild stuff happening. Make there be, you know, blocks that are moving around, things that are shooting rainbows everywhere, things that are just largely cosmetic, but just add to the sense of chaos would be ideal. So this is our boss, and the reason I mentioned that this weapon is particularly effective is because this thing actually has a hidden weak point that I'm not sure exactly where it is, but the only success that I've had in fighting it so far has been to use this, because it actually tends to spread out where the shots tend to land. I will embrace this fact, but it is not seeming to help. The obvious thing is shoot at the eye or shoot at the box. Oh, you know what it is? I've got to get rid of those 2 boxes, or however many boxes spawn on it, and then the eye is actually vulnerable. Which means now that I know that, I can actually run away and try and get some health back, maybe, if I'm really lucky. Oh no, I'm getting stuck in the ground. I don't know why that happens, actually. I've had that happen before, where I just got kind of stuck and couldn't run away properly. And I thought, because it was the first time I had played it, that maybe the boss had caught up to me or something, but I think it just might be a movement bug or something. Well, we've got the best gun already, so we can basically just tear through all the wizards and robots on our way, and I do like the diversity in the enemy design. But again, I think this is another thing that could benefit from going even weirder and crazier with things. Just, you know, embrace the lunacy and take it to the maximum extent that seems possible. And, you know, the more diversity in general, I think the more enjoyable these things tend to be. If you want to capitalize on a theme in general, I think that's probably the best way you could go with game design most of the time. And the theme here seems to be chaos, so, I mean, very much like you would look at something like The Binding of Isaac, it follows the theme of, like, biblical influences and demons and such, combined with a little bit of light scat humor to round it off. This one just seems like it's going for, like, kind of the cereal box CD-ROM FPS mixed with a little bit of anarchy, which I totally respect as a design decision. I think that actually has a lot of potential and runs a nice balance between being easy to design and also easy to implement and iterate upon, right? Because I think a concern if you're starting up, if you're an early game designer, I don't actually know if this developer is, but if you're trying to make something and make a cohesive theme that lasts a while, that makes the player interested in seeing where this is going to go, you'll probably want to have a setup that makes it so you can, you know, add things easily that just keep changing and evolving as you get further in. Hence the word iterate upon, or the phrase iterate upon that I was using earlier. So, is there any indication as to if this is a colorful box? Is that going to help me? I can't really tell if there's like a secret language here that I'm missing out on, or if, you know, maybe I'm just being silly. Or it just might be random. I mean, again, this is chaos embodied, but I'm going to stick again with this weapon. It'd be neat, too, if you combine different weapon effects or have a sort of a modular system, which is probably the best way to go if you're going to randomize things. Trying to have things as modular as possible. Alright, now that I know what I'm doing, this is going to be so much better. Pretty sure I'll be able to win this time. And maybe after I kill the boss, if I can kill the boss, things will just get easier. Oh, alright. Doing a lot of damage right now. And maybe I'll just get even more powerful as we get further in. Oh, the boss is super dead. Don't stand on that saw blade, though. Wait, the boss is dead, but the chaos meter comes back. Okay. Is there... Oh, there isn't more chaos. It just looks like it just straight up resets from there. So you can see the line of differentiation between where this run ended and the new run begins, I guess you could say. So one would hope that if you're going to have a secondary, like, New Game Plus sort of element, or like a second area to traverse, maybe there's something that adds a little bit of something new to the second run. Now, I don't know if that is the case. Did that actually, like, lower my chaos meter by picking up that? Maybe it did. That's probably not even the official name, by the way. I'm just calling it that because it seems to make sense. I feel like the enemies might be stronger. Maybe. It's a little bit tough to dodge some of these guys. You can't jump, by the way, but it's not really necessary. This is just sort of a run-and-gun, pretty basic setup. What do we have? Is there anything else? I'm trying to think if there's anything that would make this, like, very quickly able to be changed or added upon. And I think really just the thing I would do is probably gate off some of the enemy types for the second new game section, if possible. Or even some of the weapons. Have things be gated to unlock would also add a little bit of longevity, but I'm not sure if the developer's really after longevity here, or if it's just more of a, you know, play through this as long as you want, get what you want out of it, move on, and have a little bit of a good time. I'm definitely a fan of this gun. Also, there's no reason to stop firing ever. I could see that would maybe be a nice way to incentivize the player to mix up their strats. If you had a situation where maybe if you weren't firing, maybe you would get a shield that might recharge for a moment, although that might just also add to frustration. If you find yourself in a position where you're fighting a lot of things, trying to just quickly make ground, and you're not getting anywhere, you're just waiting. Nobody likes to wait for very long most of the time, unless maybe you're a, stealth game aficionado, but I don't think that maps particularly well to this. Alright, so I've fallen through the floor where there are flickering boxes. But yeah, that's going to cover Epic Random. It's a fun little time. It's not super deep, and that's okay. This is the kind of thing that I like to embrace on Indie Impressions. You basically find some games that are just super little, cute little doodles, little sort of conceptual game jam style things. Some of them are 5 minutes long. Some of them are, fully featured massive games that have huge plans, like Enter the Gungeon, which was the last one that I covered 3 months ago. So that's what you can expect if you're maybe new to this series, just finding out about it now. All range and manner of indie games, even some of the ones that are made in just 24 hours and such. So if you like that kind of thing, maybe stick around. I hope you do, because I do plan to do more of these in the future, as has always been the plan. This was the foundation of my YouTube channel, essentially, but I just didn't want to get burned out and then make videos that I wasn't happy with, because everybody suffers in that situation. So sometimes to temper expectations, do a bit less of something, take a little break and come back refreshed is the best way to go. But like I said, there will be more of these, so if you like the idea of this, make sure you leave a like. You can check out this game for yourself in the description. There's going to be links as always. And I hope to see you back for the next one. Thanks everybody for watching. See you later.